W2XL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk Media Network, and another edition of Sports Talk. It's the Monday after Clemson took care of UConn. South Carolina loses to Missouri. Coastal Carolina loses to Georgia State at home. Newberry, congratulations. Newberry wins the South Atlantic Conference. They're going to the playoffs. South Carolina State, Buddy Pugh will never talk to us again. They went out and lost on Saturday, and on it went over the weekend as we head down to the final couple of games here in the state of South Carolina for the regular season. By the way, South Carolina Clemson will be a 7:30 kickoff on the SEC network. Like night games, like rivalry night games, everybody will be sauced, juiced, wired. But please, people, if you listen to this show, please behave yourselves, okay? Let's don't have any embarrassing incidents that will be played over and over again on ESPN, the SEC network, and posted all across the country, because some knuckleheads want to throw something on the field at one team or the other, okay? Can we just can we avoid all that this time around? So we're going to talk about what happened over the weekend. Chris Bergen is here. Pat Daniel is here. Smitty, who covered Clemson, I was out in Missouri. Smitty was at Clemson in Connecticut, and he has a gig tonight calling upstate basketball on ESPN+. So we've let him slide over to his basketball play-by-play duties. But you know what? It was a UConn game, and except for Clemson playing, again, below standards and making a lot of mistakes and, scaring everybody with a shaky first quarter and the injuries that continue to pile up for the Tigers, not a whole lot to see there. South Carolina had a great trip out to Missouri. University of Missouri is a wonderful school, beautiful campus, nice 61,000-seat stadium, sits right there in the heart of campus. Beautiful hospital there on the Missouri campus. They have a huge University of Missouri hospital on the campus. Beautiful basketball arena. Really good trip out there. Snowed on us at the end of the ball game. Didn't stick, so I didn't slide into a ditch or anything like that, being a South Carolina driver in snow flurries. I made it back to St. Louis. And then the Gamecocks, good first quarter, good fourth quarter, not good in the middle. The bread was good, but the meat was spoiled because the middle part of the game for the Gamecocks, you like that?
I do.
Bread was good, the meat was spoiled. And they just played poorly. Defense never really was in control of things. When you let a guy run for over 200 yards, you're not controlling things. Offensive line continued to have its issues, whether it's communication, whether it's lack of talent, whether it's not knowing what you're doing. I don't know. There's too many times, for whatever reason, Missouri had a defensive lineman running free towards the quarterback. And, Jason Brown didn't help things by turning and running too soon, too often, instead of standing in the pocket. And he kept drifting deeper and deeper in the pocket, making for shorter passes became longer passes, and tackles for loss became really long losses of yards for the Gamecocks. So a lot of things went wrong there for South Carolina. Yet, 5 minutes to go, if they can get a stop, they got 2 timeouts. 5 minutes to go, if they can get a stop, get the ball back, they could have made some magic there in Mizzou. But they couldn't. Defense could not get a stop, and Mizzou was able to run out the clock and eat up the Gamecock timeouts, and the Gamecocks come home with a loss, so they're still 5-5. or they are 5-5. They're still a game away from bowl eligibility, Chris. And now it gets tough. Now, the Auburn situation has changed a little bit because Bo Nix is out. Carlson, the kicker for Auburn, is out as well. How's a kicker tear his ACL? Was it on a kickoff return, or did he hurt himself? Anyway, they've lost their kicker and their quarterback for the rest of the season. I will say this. The Finley kid that'll start at quarterback for Auburn is the same kid that ate the Gamecocks lunch when he was at LSU last year. I mean, ate them alive. So I don't know that I would exhale if I'm South Carolina with that situation.
Well, if you're the Gamecocks, you look at, hey, we beat Auburn with Bo Nix starting because he basically helped us beat them. And they had 3 interceptions last year in the game in Columbia, if I'm not mistaken. And he has always played, for whatever reason, he has been a much better home quarterback than he has been a road quarterback. So you're right. The fact, hate to see anybody get injured. There's no doubt about that. I don't want to make light of the injury to Bo Nix. But if you're the Gamecocks, that was the last thing you needed to see because you proved you can beat Auburn with Bo Nix. Question is, can you beat them now? And again, we go back to which South Carolina team is going to show up, Phil. We thought all week long, all right, maybe they had made the turn. Maybe the Texas A&M game was rock bottom. The Gamecocks were starting to make the turn. Maybe they had figured some things out against Florida. I'm beginning to wonder now if Florida had just not given up totally. And Missouri came out and played awfully well. And the Gamecocks lost this on 2 different occasions. First, up 7-0. They stop Missouri, and they're driving inside the 30-yard line in the first quarter, late in the first quarter, and Jason Brown gets sacked and fumbles the football, and Missouri drives down the field and scores. I think that was one of the critically important sequences in that ball game. The other thing is less than 2 yards per gain on first downs. Mm-hmm. They just always played behind or relatively behind the chains. And South Carolina's offense is not good enough to face 2nd and 8, 3rd and 9, to pick them up on a consistent basis against anybody. And Missouri obviously came out and they were ready to play on Saturday, and props to them. But the Gamecocks just did not anywhere close to put the same effort that we saw 2 weeks ago against Florida onto the field in Columbia, Missouri.
All right. And what happened to the shots? I know you weren't there directly because you were doing some basketball, but I know you were keeping a close watch on it. And, playing without McCall once again, they still scored a lot of points. What happened to the defense?
From what I understand from talking to my radio guys and at least listening to the tail end of the second quarter on into the first of the third quarter of play, again, the same thing that plagued them against Appalachian State in that 30-27 loss back in October. It was the same scenario that haunted them against Georgia State. They got dominated on both sides of the line of scrimmage. They could not move Georgia State off of the line of scrimmage offensively and could not get any pressure on Darren Granger. And let's keep in mind, Darren Granger, the starting quarterback at Georgia State, is a Conway native. Played at Conway High School. I have to believe he was excited about the opportunity to play against the Chanticleers. Plus, there's no way Sean Elliott, who is the head coach at Georgia State, forgot about the fact that Coastal rolled into Atlanta last Halloween and beat them by 50 points. And it could have been 60, 70, 80, whatever Coastal wanted, because they totally dominated that ball game. And Georgia State turned things around, and still, even without Grayson McCall, I thought Bryce Carpenter played pretty well. Made a couple of mistakes that came back to haunt them, there's no question. But they still had a chance to at least tie and force overtime. And they can't get a yard on a 2-point conversion try after the initial one was called back on a pass interference against Georgia State. So they had a chance inside the 2-yard line to punch it in. And Shamari Jones and that offensive line just could not at least create enough space for them to get in to the end zone. And now if you're Coastal, you're sitting in you're going to probably finish perhaps 10-2 and 6-2 in Sun Belt Conference play. You're not going to play for the title. And gosh, the things look like now that Coastal may end up in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Mm-hmm. And how big a reward is that for any team, not just Coastal, but how big a reward is that for any team to play in your home stadium in a bowl game?
Yeah, not much.
I wouldn't think so.
Not much. But you know what? You've played your way into that situation.
No doubt. No doubt. You had 2 games you had to win.
Played your way into that situation. So, okay. Couple of quick things, and we'll hit a break, and then we'll get to your phone calls. The phone number, 888-898-2525. That is our South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you here on Sports Talk. So go ahead and give us a call. Get lined up. We will take your phone calls for the better part of an hour. Zach Willis, 1st and 10 with Coach Willis at 7:35. And it's Monday Night Mick, who's very happy. I could not believe what I was listening to.
They looked great yesterday.
All it took was Cam Newton just coming back and putting on a
and Christian
uniform.
McCaffrey actually being able to play.
Yeah, what a difference. So we'll have Monday Night Mick for you tonight as well as a prelude to Monday Night Football. We've got basketball tonight. Among the games, Clemson home to take on Bryant, and that'll be a 7 o'clock tip at Little
I've seen
John
Bryant.
Coliseum.
If you're a Tigers fan, don't take that game lightly. That team can score.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson's going to have to show up, and Clemson has not proven thus far this season that they can just roll the basketball out there on the floor and go win ball games. So that's not going to be as easy as it might sound.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson and Bryant, that's actually a good Bryant team that Coastal actually met last year in the CBI quarterfinals.
Yes. So, and you look, Clemson has 2 relatively close wins,
Mm-hmm.
PC and Wofford. Wofford played them to the wire on Friday. South Carolina got a win yesterday up in Asheville over Western Kentucky. Nice win for them. Shot the ball a little bit better from 3. They had been horrid from 3 their first 2 games. Shot it a little bit better from 3 yesterday. Heard from Frank Martin today at his weekly press conference. He's not at all concerned about Eric Stevenson and his 3-point shooting, as I think he's correct in that. I don't think you should be worried about it. That guy, he's got proper form. He looks good. Ball's just not going in. It's going to start going in for him at some point. He just looks like too good of a shooter. Same thing with some of the others as well. So the Gamecocks, I think, to me, I think they've got a chance. I think they've got a chance when they add A.J. Wilson back to the lineup because he's been out, and they get Keyshawn Bryant back. This game coming up against UAB on Thursday will be a very good test. That'll be a really, really good matchup there. Looking forward to seeing how that one plays out. So we got all that going on, and your phone calls. Couple of quick notes to mention off the top because they're important. We say goodbye to one of the great high school coaches in our state, Dave Gutshaw at Dorman, announcing today he's retiring after 29 years at Dorman. 279 and 105 during his time there. After a highly successful tenure in North Carolina, led Dorman to 8 state championships and winning 8 state championship games, winning twice. So Coach Gutshaw has always been a good he's always been very open to us as a media outlet, and always willing to do interviews and come on the show, come on the scoreboard show, and always a very nice person to talk to. So we wish him well. Part of a complete overhaul there of at Dorman. I say complete. I mean, not everybody's leaving. Flynn Harrell, the longtime AD there, is also retiring. So they're going to have a new AD and a new head coach. I wonder if the two go hand in hand because maybe the next guy they're going to hire for football is also going to be the AD.
Phil, you wonder about if that's actually a smart move. Over the years, that was the way it was always done. The football coach was also the athletics director. But there's so much being put on ADs, not just at the collegiate level, but also at the high school level now. I don't necessarily believe that's the best route to go, is to have a coach also serve as the AD, especially a football coach serving as the AD. You're probably better off hiring both. And it's not as if the Spartanburg School District does not have the money, especially at Dorman, to hire 2 different people to fill those roles. But to see Dave Gutshaw retire and leave our state, I mean, they were Dutch Fork before Dutch Fork. He did such a terrific job at Dorman. He's one of many coaches that have come from North Carolina down here to South Carolina and have found tremendous success. Tom Knott's obviously one of them as well.
Absolutely. All right, our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Did you know that since 2002, more than $829 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund lottery tuition assistance for students attending technical colleges in South Carolina? Learn more about the lottery's impact at sceducation.lottery.com/education. Wins, and playing for fun is a win for education. We'll be right back in just a moment.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
We've got Major Billy Downer with us here from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Hunting season is upon us. Major Downer, how do we stay safe?
Smitty, that's a great question. Mistaken for game is a leading cause of hunting accidents each year. So this year, DNR is encouraging everyone to wear hunter orange and use a flashlight when traveling to and from your hunting location in low light. Remember, be safe, be seen.
And remember, life's better outdoors. Visit dnr.sc.gov for more.
If you are pregnant, DHEC and the CDC strongly recommend the COVID-19 vaccine. The dangers of the Delta variant, increased risk of severe illness and pregnancy complications are too great to ignore. Pregnant women with COVID-19 are at greater risk for hospitalization and for critical care, including ventilation and admission to the ICU. Pregnant women with COVID-19 are more likely to have major pregnancy complications. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxlocator to find a vaccine near you to protect your unborn baby and yourself.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
Back we are on Sports Talk. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. You can get right through and join us right now if you want to share with us your thoughts about the weekend or what is coming up or any of the other top stories of the day. 888-898-2525 is the number. Our updated poll question of the week is out. Didn't get it out there until this morning. And so our poll question of the week has to do with the South Carolina Clemson game, of course. This is the third edition of the poll question of the week. It's a makeover of the other two because we're gradually seeing how people are feeling as we get closer to the Palmetto Bowl, 7:30, coming up a week from Saturday in Columbia. So now we're 2 Saturdays away. Clemson beat UConn Saturday. The Gamecocks lost at Missouri. And based on what you saw, how would you now project the game on November 27th? So right now, 172 votes in today, and 43.6% are siding with Clemson close, and then 27.9% are leaning USC close, 22% see Clemson by a lot, 6.4% see the Gamecocks by a lot. So you add it up, you got almost 66% are picking Clemson, and the rest, about 34%, are picking South Carolina. How that compared to the last poll, the end of last week, we ended up with 780 votes, and almost 46% of the votes went to South Carolina winning close. So the shift after this past weekend, taking a little bit of the steam out of the Gamecock fans. Well, losing, a game that was winnable once again for them, a winnable game, a chance. Here's the thing, too. Now the Gamecocks have that additional pressure facing Auburn, facing Clemson, will be underdogs in both, and they've got to win one of them to become bowl eligible. That just adds to the pressure they're facing here over the last 2 games.
But if you're a Clemson fan and you came away from the UConn game feeling good about where your team is right now, you didn't watch the game because offensively they didn't look any better at all than they did the week before. And that's why I'm surprised it has changed so considerably. I get it from a Gamecock fan's perspective. You're disappointed about the loss and should be because USC played terribly. But it's not as if Clemson moved up and down the field. Now, they dominated the worst team in college football, and they should have. But offensively, I mean, Uiagalelei still did not look very good throwing the football up until probably the last drive of the first half in the opening sequence of the third quarter. When they got Pumachan in, I thought the offense actually moves the football better with him than they did with DJ. And then Pumachan gets hurt. And again, they held out Will Shipley because of his injury. He didn't play any, I don't think, in the game. In their second best units of the three, offense, defense, and special teams, gave up an opening kickoff touchdown return. I didn't come away from that game looking at Clemson and thinking, boy, they are markedly better than South Carolina. I still think if they played this weekend, the Tigers would win, but I'm leaning towards that close long before I would even think about, this going to be a blowout, because I don't think either team is all that good right now.
Well, I'm just going to say this. USC played a defense Saturday that was giving up 270 yards per game on the ground. And Gamecocks' primary running backs, their three running backs, rushed together for 104. And my point is, if you can't move the ball on the ground against Missouri, you're not going to move the ball on the ground against Auburn or Clemson.
No question.
And that's from a Gamecock standpoint, that's where their goose is cooked. They're not going to block Clemson. Let's just face it, people.
No.
They're not going to block Clemson.
But is Clemson going to be able to throw the ball in South Carolina, though?
I have a feeling Clemson's going to make enough plays. Clemson's going to win the game. I mean, go ahead,
I think so.
Clemson's going to
Sure,
win the game.
I think so, too.
And I hate to – but you know what? More importantly, this will make the Gamecock fans happy, because this is more important. The USC women's basketball team will beat Clemson on Wednesday night. So that will –
They will crush Clemson on Wednesday night.
Isn't that really bigger for the Gamecocks?
I don't know. The biggest win over the weekend was USC women's soccer going to North Carolina and winning in the opening round of the NCAA tournament.
That was big. That was big. I'm just saying, I mean, based on what I hear from people that, that I see and hear, women's basketball is the most important sport on the USC campus. As long as they can beat Clemson in women's basketball, everything's okay.
That'll be one of the great mismatches of the year.
Should be.
Yeah, no, it won't. It will be. I can promise you that. It will be.
By the way, the Clemson men's soccer team made the NCAA tournament announcement.
As they should have.
And they got a first-round bye. We'll give you some details on that coming up. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. Let's go to the phone calls. Love to hear from you tonight. Start talking about, South Carolina, Clemson. It's not too far away now that we can't start looking ahead. And also the game's coming up this weekend. I mean, Clemson's got to play Wake Forest. Clemson's got to beat Wake Forest to stay alive in the Atlantic Division. Any hopes Clemson has of making the ACC title game rest on beating Wake Forest, and then they need some help. And then, of course, South Carolina is trying to beat Auburn to get bowl eligible.
Before we get to Keith and Camden, Phil, do you think Clemson should be favored over Wake this weekend?
Do I think they should? I mean, you know how Vegas thinks. They don't think like the rest of us. So, I mean, I think that, again, I still believe in Clemson's defense. Their defense is ranked 11th nationally, okay? And they can still throw up a goose egg on you or control you at any time. Clemson's offense is hit and miss. Uiagalelei can look really sharp for a few minutes, and then he can look really bad for a while. So you can't count on their offense. You can count on their defense. At home, they look at the points that Wake Forest has given up. I can understand why Vegas is made, and maybe Clemson's reputation too is.
I think that plays a large lion's share of why they're favored this weekend, because I think Wake Forest can score 28 points on Clemson's defense. Question is, can Clemson score that many points?
They're not going to score 28.
No. Really?
No.
Pittsburgh did, and Wake Forest's offense is much better than Pittsburgh's.
Pickett's a better quarterback than
you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know that he's got the wide receivers though that Wake Forest has.
Well, he's got a better running back, and he's a better quarterback, and I think he's a much better quarterback than Hartman. Yeah.
Okay.
Just naturally throwing the football. I would say if Clemson's going to win this game, and I think that they will. Of course, I'm sick and tired of taking Clemson and South Carolina and getting beat in our competition. Happened again this weekend.
Me too,
I didn't learn my lesson. I didn't learn my
so
lesson.
mad at their special teams, because if they don't give up that kickoff return, you and I both get the win because Clemson covers.
Y'all called me crazy for picking UConn in that.
You can't take credit for that.
I think I'm done, but I think I think they'll win, but I think it's going to only be something along the lines of 24-20. I don't think Clemson will score more than 24 points.
Yep.
But I don't think their defense is going to give up a lot. I don't think they lost anybody on defense injury-wise like they did on offense this past weekend. So those who have been healthy remain healthy. Okay, we'll get to those calls after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dropping this evening to 36. Tomorrow, even nicer than today with sunshine and a warmer high of 71. We'll climb Wednesday and Thursday into the mid-70s, while on Thursday, we do have a slight 20% chance of a shower. Otherwise, this week is all about sunshine. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Hey, Tiger fans, it's not too late to purchase your Clemson football tickets. Lock in your seat for one of our remaining home games by visiting ClemsonTigers.com/football tickets. That's your one-stop shop for tickets, schedule, and game day designations. Be sure and act now, as tickets are going fast. So come back home to Clemson, and we'll see you in Death Valley cheering on our Tigers. That's ClemsonTigers.com/football tickets.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. President Biden meeting with his Chinese counterpart later this evening, not in person, but in a virtual setting. The White House says no major announcements are expected from tonight's talks. The president has signed that $1.2 trillion infrastructure measure into law. It is designed to rebuild America's roads, bridges, and more. Closing arguments continuing in Kyle Rittenhouse trial in the shootings of 3 men during street unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Prosecutors portray the teenager as the aggressor. Rittenhouse has argued self-defense, saying he feared for his own safety. American journalist Danny Fenster, who was recently sentenced to 11 years of hard labor in Myanmar, has been freed. A former U.S. diplomat has helped negotiate his release. This is SRN News.
Do you know? I'm Tamika Isaac Devine, and I'm running to be your next mayor of the City of Columbia. During my 19 years on City Council, I've always shown up for you, and now I'm asking you to show up for our city. As your next mayor, I will continue to lead on building safer communities, leading us out of the pandemic, and growing our businesses. I am always with you, working for you. We can't afford to sit out this election. The future of Columbia depends on it. This is Tamika Isaac Devine, asking for your vote for mayor on November 16th.
Now, who could that be?
It's Dominion Energy. I signed us up for a home energy checkup. It's time we learn how to save energy and money.
Well, how much does it cost?
Not a dime. It's free, and it only takes about an hour. Plus, we get a report on things we can do to make our home more energy efficient.
I don't know. Sounds too good to be true.
No. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Getting involved in your community is easier than you think. If you can click, you can help. If you can share a status, you can lend a hand. If you can log on, you can give back. Because when you volunteer virtually with AARP, you can help your community without even leaving home. AARP has all kinds of opportunities to get you started and will provide the support you need to make it easy and fun. Your community needs volunteers like you. Get involved at aarp.org/volunteer here.
Kevin Cohen here with Tim Hanberry from Medicare Blueprint. So, Tim, it is open enrollment now for Medicare. How does that impact our listeners at the point?
Well, Kevin, now's the time for you to review your Medicare Advantage plan because they can and do change each year. You'll need to make sure that your prescriptions are still covered and at what cost. So what should you do? First, give us a call. We'll ask you a few questions. We'll find out what your prescriptions are and what doctors you see. Then we'll find the best plan for you. We'll do all the work for you. We'll even make sure to show you all the additional benefits you're entitled to.
Yeah, listen, I called Tim and his team, and it's just like he says. We've cut our healthcare costs considerably. So don't waste time. Don't waste this opportunity during open enrollment. Give Tim a call at Medicare Blueprint, 803-708-7405, or find him online at MedicareBlueprint.com. That's 708-7405 or MedicareBlueprint.com.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network. What'd you do? You sprain a finger? What'd you do? You need surgery like Russell Wilson on that finger?
So listeners won't be able to see this, but in our studio, I basically turn and point at Corn to let him know that I'm turning on his mic and we go live. And I just smacked my hand really hard against a wall.
Ouch.
Not my brightest moment.
Ouch.
I will survive.
All right, couple of quick notes, then back to your phone calls. Miami has fired its AD, Blake James, at a prelim to firing the coach there, maybe. Manny Diaz, FIU also firing their coach, Davis, who's had a great career coaching, but he had some things to say as he hit the door there at FIU, right? He was at FIU? Yeah. And what else? Oh, the hot seat, boy. Texas, they're all over Steve Sarkisian after they've lost 5 in a row, losing at home to Kansas, a team that a team that Coastal Carolina, beat to open the season. And they go in and win at Texas. But here's a crazy thing about where we are today with everything, which is just totally out of whack. He's there in his first year, and there's people already, national guys, calling for his head. Not guys who are located right there in Austin who might have a dog in the fight. They cover the team every day and they're around them every day and they have a sense of what's going on. Here comes the national pundits already looking up the buyout and can Texas afford this and why they can't and da-da-da-da. Man, I tell you what, when it goes bad, it goes bad. And, of course, Dan Mullen at Florida, that was some odd game they had, giving up over 50 points to Sanford. Of course, they had to score 70-something to win that ball game. Just crazy. All right, let's go to the phones, 888-898-2525. Keith in Camden. Good to have you with us. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Good, man.
Well, look, I'm not calling to have Beamer's head, but I'll tell you what I am calling. We've got 4 offensive linemen back from last year. We played 10 games. We could say that we blocked well in the Florida game. So we are who we are. 9 out of 10 games, we look like we don't have a clue what in the world we're doing. And Phil, if I'm correct, don't you attend the Wednesday press conference?
The coordinators, yes.
Yes. Could you do me a favor?
Absolutely.
And I listen to this every week. Could somebody go beyond one question and say, well, look, at the end of the day, guys, you can't run the football. You quit trying to run the football. So tell us why, as opposed to just.
Well, I asked Shane Beamer that question after the game Saturday.
It's crazy.
Did you hear my question to Shane Beamer on Saturday?
No, I did not.
Yeah, after the game, I said, my question was basically, do you think you ran the ball enough against a team that was giving up 270 rushing yards a game? And his response was, yes, he thinks they ran the ball enough. Of their 62 plays, I think they ran 62 plays. Basically, it was almost a 50-50 split between the run and the pass. Now, I understand in the game of football that when they put 6 guys in the box, maybe 7, and they are trying to keep you from running the football, then it makes it difficult to run the football. I get that. But then you've got to be able to hit some passes to make them back up. That's kind of how it works, right?
Look, Phil. Okay, 50-50, that's balanced. I'll give him that. But go back and look. The one time we threw the screen pass, if they're blitzing, you can't be looking to run a 20 out. I mean, how many times we throw to the tight end or the back? I mean, come on.
Never to the tight end.
Sir?
Never to the tight end. I don't think Muse had a catch, or maybe even not even sure Muse had a target on the
He had
day.
one catch for 8 yards.
Muse had one for 8.
Muse caught a 7 and out. Bell caught a delay over the middle. And you threw one screen pass. And they're blitzing. So don't hand me, Coach, that 50-50 balance crap. That's crazy.
Well, should they have tried to run the ball more against the front that was lined up to stop the run?
I'm saying you throw screens, you throw quick pass, you don't run 20 and outs. We got one guy that can catch the ball, Van. Beyond that, I mean, the patterns are not suited for what the defense is doing. I mean, go back and watch it over again and look at the patterns, and you'll go, well, my gosh. I mean, who's going to hit that?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How do you like their chances in the next 2 games?
Slim to none.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, you know, there's always a chance because the football is not shaped round. Love you guys, Chef.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. You can be lucky and get through right now without a delay as lines have opened up over the break and after that phone call. So give us a call, 888-898-2525. So what do you think, Bergie? I mean, my thought was when you got a team that's given up the amount of yards per game on the ground, even though Shane Beamer said prior to the game last week that he thought Missouri was looking better on defense and actually made a nice showing against Georgia defensively, showed some progress there. You've got Kevin Harris. I mean, if Missouri's got a cat who can carry the ball 34 times for 209 yards, don't you have one? I mean, Kevin Harris is every bit as good as Beatty, don't you think, given the opportunity? And not only that, as Keith pointed out, you know, the Gamecocks have, 4 guys on the offensive line who played last year. They have been relatively healthy on the offensive line except for Wanham on the right side, but Wanamaker's played enough there now to have a feel for it. And they did substitute on the left side of the offensive line during the game. They made a change there. But, you would think that the Gamecocks could line up and block these guys and give their running game a chance, or, as he suggested, and as I mentioned too, you make adjustments in the passing game to make them back up to open up those running lanes. But, I mean, this is a team that was dead last or 129th in the country stopping the run. There's got to be a reason. Oh, and what I was going to say about Missouri is they were playing without a starting offensive lineman going into the game, and then the guy that replaced him got hurt. So they were into their 3rd team offensive lineman and still moved the ball too effectively on South Carolina on the ground.
I don't want to let the Gamecocks off the hook because that's a game they should have won, and won, I won't say easily, but they should have. It should not have been difficult for them to win. That being said, I wonder how much the game plan changed after I pointed out when the Gamecocks got down in there, led by 7, driving in for what should have been another score for them to go up 14-0. Instead, they fumble it, and the amount of turnovers were just unacceptable when you're on the road. You can't afford that.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that being said, the one thing I like about Missouri's team is they have one running back that is their identity out of the backfield, and it's Tyler Beatty.
Mm-hmm.
They gave it to him. Of the 46 rushes that they had, and that included, handoff to wide receivers and everybody else they ran out there, Beatty carried it 34 times. They also found a way to get him into the passing game as well, rushing for over 200 yards. They have an identity of their running back. I still don't think, as we sit here at Game 10, South Carolina knows who their bell cow running back is. Is it Kevin Harris? Is it White? Is it Juju McDowell? Is it Lloyd? Who is it out of that backfield?
No,
when Missouri lines up,
did Juju McDowell even show up on Saturday?
That's a great question. Yeah, he did not have a carry.
Him.
Yeah, did not have a carry. Missouri has a guy they can turn around and give it to, and when he runs it the first time, you may knock him down after a 2-yard gain. When he runs it the 15th time, he's probably getting 5 or 6 yards. When he carries it the 30th time, he's breaking tackles for 15 and 20 yards. That's what Kevin Harris did all of last year, Phil. He got better as the game went along. And Missouri is allowing Beatty to do exactly that. We're not talking about a team that is going to play in the college football playoff. We're talking about a team, apples to apples comparison to South Carolina, and they look light years ahead of the Gamecocks on offense, with the exception of the fourth quarter and those early moments in the first. But you cannot turn it. Turnovers were the big story in that ball game on Saturday, is part of the reason why USC lost.
You're correct. You're correct. I mean, look, they gave him 7 points with the quarterback fumbling at about his 2 into the end zone. 2 times in a row they've gone to Missouri and the quarterbacks made a turnover that resulted in a touchdown. In a close ball game, of course, that comes back to haunt you. And, Missouri goes down, kicks a field goal the last play of the first half, makes it 17-14. Those 3 points, of course, came back to be big. And then you need your defense to get you a stop on the last possession over the last 5 minutes. And it was Beatty carried 6 times for 62 yards. It wasn't like Missouri was trying to fool them. You knew what was coming, and they couldn't stop them. So I don't know. Those are questions that are above my pay grade and knowledge, and it leaves you scratching your head sometimes. And they were playing with a quarterback who was coming off an injury of some sort, hamstring or something like that, in Basilak, and he was fairly sharp except for his 2 picks. He had a couple of bad interceptions, 15 of 23 for 180 yards. But Beatty was the guy, 209 yards, 34 carries. He averaged over 6 carries, 6 yards per carry. So it was a dominant performance by him. And the Gamecocks it reminded me a lot of the Gamecocks in their failures against Kentucky.
Yep.
Where Kentucky didn't try to fool you. They just lined up and said, this is what we're going to do. And if you can stop it, go ahead. And they couldn't stop it. I don't know why. I don't think they know why. They don't have the answers either. They'd have done something. All right,
well, that's what South Carolina did, and that's got to be the frustrating thing if you're a Gamecock fan. That's exactly what the Gamecocks did 2 weeks ago against Florida. They said, we're going to run the football on you. We're going to line up in the eye. We're going to go left tackle. We're going to go right tackle. You stop it, and Florida couldn't. And that's why South Carolina won. And then they turn around the following week and get a dose of their own medicine.
All right, phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. We'll continue after the break. If you want to join us, feel free to give us a call, and we'll listen to what you have to say. Otherwise, we'll continue to kick around some hot topics. Clemson basketball's announced they are redshirting freshman guard Josh Beatty, standout out of Cardinal Newman High School. Former Clemson pitcher Daniel Moscos today was named as the Cubs' Major League Assistant Pitching Coach. We'll be back after the break.
Hi, I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and I've got a great gift idea that requires zero shopping, the gift of college savings. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan makes it easy. Grandparents, friends, and family can all contribute to a Future Scholar account and know that they're providing a gift that will last a lifetime. If you're looking for the perfect gift this holiday season, look no further. Learn more about the smart, easy way to save and give this holiday season at FutureScholar.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
In Irma, call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171.
In Columbia, South Carolina, game days are our specialty. Whether you're watching the game from inside the stadium or from the big screen at your favorite local spot, the energy remains the same. Craft the perfect fall Saturday in a city where there is plenty of action on and off the field. From tubing and kayaking to Soda City to rooftop restaurants and plenty barbecue. We're ready when you are. Plan your weekend at experiencecolumbiasc.com.
Okay, we're back on Sports Talk. We'll have recruiting coming your way in a little bit. A visit from Zach Willis. Bottom of the next hour. 1st and 10 with Zach. And Monday Night with Mick. 888-898-2525 is our number if you want to join us. Former Clemson running back Mikey Dukes has found a new home. He's transferring to South Florida, where he'll play for Jeff Scott in his final season there next year. Ooh.
Ouch.
Well, I figure he's got one more year. Don't you figure? Year 3? Oh, he might turn around.
Yeah, that seems to be the running time for coaches now.
Mm-hmm. Maybe off the beaten path place like, USF, you'll get a little bit longer leash, but I don't know. This day and age, you can't hardly make it through a year without people calling for your head. We talked about the Auburn kicker, Anders Carlson, knee injury. You said it happened on an onside kick?
Yeah, it happened on an onside kick at the end of the game, but I am struggling to find whether it was during the physical act of kicking or if it was just during the play in general. But unfortunately, it did happen on an onside kick.
So they're out their quarterback and their kicker. Frank Martin said today at his press conference that only 2 players will come off the roster after this season. Those will be A.J. Wilson and Reese, the 2 transfers there, the 2 older transfers. So the point is he is signed 2. So his 2 openings right now are filled by the 2 that he has signed. Everybody else can come back next year. So keep that in mind. Latest odds on the college football championship from Bet Online. And you've got Georgia 10-13. 10-13. Now, does that mean
I've never heard that before?
You put $1 down and you win, you get 13 cents back or something? What is that? It sounds to me like, right, you'll get your bet back if you win, but you don't get much else after.
You can't make any money on Georgia, as best I can tell, with those kind of odds.
10-13. Ohio State is 4-1. Alabama is 17-4. Oregon is 20-1. Oklahoma's 25-1. Now, Oklahoma, you're done, man. You lost. You're done.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is 33-1. So Vegas still has Cincinnati at longer odds than a 1-loss Oklahoma, a 1-loss Oregon, a 1-loss Alabama, and a 1-loss Ohio State. Heisman odds, C.J. Stroud is 9-5. Bryce Young is 2-1. Kenneth Walker is 3-1. And Matt Corral, 9-1. Impressed by Ole Miss. I tell you what, the Broyles Award nominees came out today. And, yes, I made a mistake on Twitter. I certainly apologize. I left off Clayton White's name at first. I did not see his name on the list, the Gamecock defensive coordinator. I looked over the list. I saw the Coastal Carolina coach on there, and I did not see Clayton White. So I tweeted out that the Coastal Carolina assistant, offensive coordinator, and running backs coach, Newland Isaac, he's the co-offensive coordinator, was the only one from the state on the list, and everybody's got to say, you're an idiot, you're a moron, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you're woke, you're whatever.
What makes you woke?
I don't know.
Submitting somebody with an honest mistake.
So, but anyway, I went back and changed it, and Clayton White is one of the 59 nominated. No assistants from Clemson on the list, okay? Even though Brent Venables has a defense ranked number 11, and White's got one ranked 44. I don't know. How was 44 better than 11? The point I'm bringing this up is the Ole Miss defensive coordinator should be on that list. He might be. I didn't look that closely. But that guy's done a hell of a job. As bad as Ole Miss's defense was last year, to turn around and make them a tough unit, and they did a heck of a job against Texas A&M on Saturday night.
Yes, they did. I was awfully impressed with the job Ole Miss did. I didn't think they'd be able to slow down that run attack. And can we pick on ESPN and College Game Day for just a moment? I know we don't normally touch on other media outlets, but I thought what they did on Saturday was about as lazy a job as they have ever done. Do you know who the celebrity picker was on Saturday?
Yeah, it was Lane Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Could you imagine any other coach in college football? Let's say they go to Alabama for the SEC, or they go to the SEC championship game, and it's Alabama, Georgia. Could you imagine the production meeting? Hey, let's see if Nick Saban would come on and be the celebrity guest picker for this week.
You know, it's not unusual for them to have the home coach on the set.
Sure.
In the morning, you know.
But not as the picker.
Right. No, you're right. And when I tuned in and I saw him there, and then they went to the picking portion, and he's picking games, I'm thinking to myself, that's odd. That just seems and you know what? 5 years ago, you wouldn't have a coach go within 100 yards of that segment because of the gambling implications.
Mm-hmm.
Today, with college football welcoming all the gambling it can get, and NFL doing the same thing, shoot. Do what you want, bro. Do what you want. Few other things here. We've got, what else do I want to mention here? We did the poll questions. Let's see. Is there any other football I wanted to mention? Talked about that. NCAA stats this week. So Clemson's offense is a robust 106 in the country. Moving on up. They were like 109 or something like that. Defensively, they're number 11. Coastal's offense is number 8. Defensively, they're 22. USC's offense is number 110, and defense is number 44. So that is that. USC today announced their complete 2022 baseball schedule. You already knew the schedule for the SEC games. So now they've got all their non-league games in. And they, for example, will be playing UNC Greensboro. They'll be playing Winthrop, George Washington, Appalachian State. That game will be in Charlotte. Of course, the 3-game set with Clemson. Xavier going to play the Gamecocks. Texas coming in March for a 3-game series. That'll be sweet. Gardner-Webb, the Citadel, Presbyterian, going to play North Carolina in Charlotte. They're going to play North Florida. They're going to play Charlotte. They're going to play Upstate, North Carolina A&T, and Winthrop. A variety of locations there. But those are the non-SEC opponents for Gamecock baseball this coming season. So it's not a bad look. Texas, of course, is Texas. Clemson is always Clemson. PC is very good in baseball. North Carolina, of course. Upstate will beat you if you're not careful. Even if you are careful, Upstate will beat you. They did it last year to people. Winthrop, so that's a good non-league schedule to go along with the SEC slate, which is always tough. So that was announced today by South Carolina. All right, so we have gone through our news notes of the day. I think we've covered everything there. One other note I wanted to mention that I haven't gotten to yet. And, back in the summer out in Texas, one of the fanboy websites out that covers Texas did NIL agreements with a couple of Aggie players to get exclusive content going into
A&M, not UT.
Yeah, didn't I say A&M?
No, you said Texas.
I'm sorry. Out in Texas, A&M.
Right.
Aggies. Anyway, Gamecock Central announced today that it has created something called the Garnet Trust, and they're going to basically partner up with the USC athletes who seek NIL opportunities and work with them, and maybe be a broker is kind of how I'm taking it, kind of as the middle person to help them put them together with Gamecock people, with businesses, and create NIL opportunities for the professional athletes at South Carolina. And this is all part of their organization, which is part of Rivals, owned by Brian Shoemaker out of Charleston. And this is, they're the first, I can't call them media. This is where I have a hard time, because they want to be known as media, but now you're partnering up with the people that you cover. So how can you be media? How can you be objective? Not that they were ever objective, because they're Gamecock fanboys covering the Gamecocks, but you'll be even less objective now when you're covering people that you're making money off of, because you're using this twofold, I would imagine. This is just me. I don't know for a fact, but I'm imagining you're using this to get more members to your website. And I imagine as a broker, a middle person here, you get a cut, some kind of commission if you bring together a Gamecock business and pair them with a Gamecock athlete, and they're getting paid. You're going to get something out of it. Let's talk about this on the other side of the break. Get your feelings on it, and we'll delve more into it after the top of the hour break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. President Biden signing the trillion-dollar infrastructure passage into law with a lot of fanfare Monday. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In a South Lawn bill signing ceremony attended by some 800 guests, the president hailed the legislation as good news for the country.
America's moving again, and your life is going to change for the better.
He also emphasized the bill's bipartisan support, as did GOP Senator Rob Portman of Ohio, one of the key negotiators.
This is what can happen when Republicans and Democrats decide we're going to work together to get something done.
Portman said removing tax increases and partisan social spending was instrumental in winning bipartisan support. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Closing arguments over now in Kyle Rittenhouse's trial in the shootings of 3 men during street unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. It now goes to the jury. During closing arguments, prosecutors portrayed the 18-year-old as the aggressor. But Rittenhouse earlier had said he was simply playing with self-defense, saying that he feared for his safety when he shot and killed 2 men and wounded a third. Also at townhall.com, a judge in Georgia denying mistrial request at the trial of 3 white men charged with murdering a black man after defense attorneys claimed jurors were tainted by weeping from the gallery when the slain black man's parents sat next to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Defense attorney Kevin Groh.
And I certainly don't mean to suggest that Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson or any other pastor belong to a mob, but at the same time, we are talking about organized behavior by whoever outside the courthouse leading up to this case. But we have all these community leaders fearful that the city's going to burn down.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Your pets have the same energy they used to? Do they have problems with itching, scratching, a dull coat, or goopy ears? Then your pets need Dinovite.
DINOVITE.com.
For over 20 years, pet owners have trusted Dinovite to supplement their pet's diet.
We started Dinovite, and in our first stock, we noticed a difference.
Dinovite is an all-natural daily supplement made from whole foods that help support your pet's immune system, digestion, skin, and coat.
Within 3 weeks, he's not scratching and itching, and he's an all-around happier dog.
Today's commercial pet foods are processed at high temperatures, which bakes out all the essential goodness. These processed foods can lack the essential vitamins, enzymes, and probiotics that contribute to overall good health. Adding a scoop of Dinovite to your pet's food bowl is the answer.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you'll want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives. I have 2 cats and 2 dogs. All 4 of them are on the Dinovite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Well, that explosion in a taxi outside Liverpool Women's Hospital Sunday morning has been declared an act of terrorism by the authorities.
David Perry has been helping police understand the moments leading up to the explosion, which happened just before the 2 minutes of silence for Remembrance Sunday. He's told officers he picked up a man on his own. The passenger asked to be taken directly to the women's hospital. As Mr. Perry pulled up, a device the man was carrying exploded. The taxi driver managed to get out before the car was engulfed in flames. Police say that another man has been arrested this morning, the 4th in the investigation so far.
BBC correspondent Nick Garnett reporting from Liverpool. Ethiopia's war is now 1 year old. Its dead are in the handwritten list of names smuggled out of a region cut off from the world. There are images of people shot and tossed off a cliff. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool overnight with a low dropping this evening to 36. Tomorrow, even nicer than today with sunshine and a warmer high of 71. We'll climb Wednesday and Thursday into the mid-70s, while on Thursday, we do have a slight 20% chance of a shower. Otherwise, this week is all about sunshine. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, we're back. It's hour number 2 of Sports Talk on this Monday after. Monday after Clemson took care of UConn. South Carolina lost to Missouri. Coastal fell to Georgia State. Newberry defeated Limestone, and Newberry is moving on to the Division II playoffs. And let's see, we had some news on where they are headed. You saw that, Chris?
Yeah, they're actually playing West Florida on Saturday, and I would assume it's at West Florida. They're the 3 seed, and if you don't know much about West Florida, they just started football not that long ago, and they are the reigning Division II national champions from 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
D2 did not have a playoffs last year because of COVID, so congrats to the Wolves. You win the South Atlantic Conference, and now you get to go down and face West Florida down in Pensacola. And they've got that's a neat little campus. We were down there last year when Coastal Basketball was playing in the Sun Belt Conference men's basketball tournament. It was actually in Pensacola, and one of the games was, at least the practice sites were at West Florida's basketball gymnasium.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing what and it is a relative, as much as Coastal is in its infancy in football, West Florida is even more recent in terms of its infancy in football. And it did not take them very long to become a power. They're actually a 3 seed in the Division II playoffs.
All right. Well, we'll see what the Wolves can do. We'll be talking there. And that game is this Saturday. They're jumping right into the playoffs this Saturday.
The 20th. That is Saturday, correct?
That is Saturday. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we'll get Coach Knight on
rolling
this week. All right. Our phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. So as we were hitting the break, we were talking about Gamecock Central moving into the NIL business with the Gamecock athletes. And this is something that is separate from the university. This is not part of the university. They are not other than representing and trying to find NIL deals for Gamecock athletes. That's it. This is not under the wing of the university. It's totally separate. And the university has no control over what any media type can now do with their athletes. For example, Gamecock Central had Gamecock quarterback Jason Brown on today. It was on their website, I guess, wherever they stream their productions, and to, I guess, take questions from them and from fans as well, I guess. And this was part of the NIL deal that they announced. So I'm assuming that they're paying him to be on there and to do this. And the university can't, as long as it's during a time that does not interfere with his obligations to the football team or to his academics, and he's free to do it, and he wants to do it, and they agree to it, and everybody signs off on it as far as the player and the NIL side, it's good to go. We could do it. We could do the same thing. We could go either out of our own pocket or get a sponsor and go to a player and say, hey, on your off day, would you come be on Sports Talk for an hour and we'll pay you $500, whatever the case may be. Now, we won't do that. We don't pay for interviews here. I think there's a point where real media has to toe the line. And now your Gamecock Central, and this is where I'm critical, my own personal criticism comes in. All these years as a website made up of Gamecock fans, both doing the reporting and doing the reading, they want to be accepted as true journalistic media and treated as such. And they've been treated that way. They get their credentials and they do travel and cover the games and all that stuff. They've done all that. But how can you be looked at in the same way when you're now in business? You're now in business with the people you cover. And you might say, oh, that's not going to affect our integrity or our journalistic ethics or anything like that. But you know as well as I do, when there's money involved, everything gets affected. And so let's just say you've got a deal with Jason Brown. Let's say Jason Brown's the Gamecock quarterback next year, and you've got some kind of NIL deal with him, and you're making money, he's making money, and let's say he's terrible. Let's say he's thrown in the first 3 or 4 games. I'm hypothesizing here, but let's say he's thrown 15. No, that's too many. Let's say he's thrown 8 interceptions to 2 touchdowns. Okay. Now you've got to write about him. Are you gonna hold back on what you should be saying and critiquing him honestly and as an outside party, which you no longer are? Are you going to refrain from the true observation of the performance because you don't want to damage your property? You don't want to damage your opportunity to make more money off of him because now, if you play poorly, people aren't going to be so willing to pony up the money to be involved with you. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing that sticks with me. But what I'm told is, just from a South Carolina standpoint, I don't know what happened out with the people at Texas A&M. That's not my neighborhood, so I don't know. But here, just asking around, I mean, USC looks at them the same way as they always have, as a media outlet, credentialed to be in the press box and to do whatever they will do in the press box. But, I mean, from my point of view, I don't know how you can trust what comes from an outlet that pays for the people that they cover to be interviewed and to be in touch with them beyond the reach of, like right now, in our current setting, we can't get, I've been told for years by the SEC, by the USC people, we can't have live interviews on our show with Gamecock athletes because it's an SEC rule prohibiting live interviews on talk shows. Oh, yeah, I've been told that for years, decades. Decades. I've been told that. Now, I know things have changed with this NIL stuff now, and you can go buy your interviews if you want to, I guess. That's the way to do it. You can just go buy, just like you go buy a gallon of milk, you can go buy your interviews now. We won't do that. I'd prefer not to pay for interviews. I think, again, that goes across the line of, journalism integrity, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that was something that caught my eye today. Listen, I'm not criticizing Gamecock Central for making a business move here to try to generate more income for themselves and for rivals. They got the jump on their competition, the Big Spur, and the competition of Go Gamecocks, and competition of the hometown Gamecock loving radio station. They got the jump on all of them to get the NIL stuff going. So more power to them for that. But please don't call yourself a media outlet. Call it what it is. Now you're in bed with USC's athletes. You're going to make money off of them. They're going to make money through you. And that'll be the way it is. So don't call yourself a media outlet, though.
It's interesting, though, you use the word trust. And I think that is the crux of this entire argument here, Phil. And I want to play devil's advocate for a moment because they use the term trust as part of the Garnet Trust. But I don't understand the entire fan. And this is not just for Gamecock Central, the Big Spur. This could be Tiger Nets and Clemson Insider and any other of the fanboy websites. I just don't understand how fans want to pay for access of information that we offer here on this show absolutely free. And for the most part, you can get virtually anywhere. I can't imagine there is something that Jason Brown is going to say in an interview to Gamecock Central that he would not say anywhere else. Is he actually going to sit and take them inside the locker room and tell them his innermost meetings with the other quarterbacks in the room and everything they're game planning going into the upcoming week? Otherwise, what's the reason you would pay for access to a starting quarterback? I mean, if Jason Brown is not going to tell me here is going to be our first 15 scripted plays against Auburn on Saturday, I mean, why would I pay for this access?
Right.
I just don't get that. I really don't understand this whole scenario of paying to have athletes come on and talk to you. And this is not a knock on Jason Brown. He is a very well-spoken, I think a funny young man. He's got a great personality. The couple of times we've heard him here on this program, I love listening to him talk. But he's not going to say anything that is of value that he's not going to say in the Tuesday or Wednesday press conferences that we get from USC. My concern, though, from our perspective and from the state newspaper's perspective and the Greenville News and the Post and Courier and those of us who are legitimate news outlets, are we going to be restricted and not allowed moving forward by the university, even though this scenario is set up strictly away from what USC is doing and what Clemson is doing and the like? Are we on down the road 4 and 5 years from now not going to have access to athletes unless we pay them for them?
Yeah. Right now, that's not in question. Right now it's everything's normal. Like tomorrow, USC will have their Tuesday press conference, and there'll be players brought in prior to Shane Beamer, and then we'll have Shane Beamer, and that'll be it. And then we'll have.
I mean, are you going to have to drop you're going to have to drop a $5 bill in the collection plate when you walk into the defensive meeting room to handle these things? And how much do you pay Jason Brown versus how much are they going to get from Aaliyah Boston when she comes on, and maybe some of the top-notch baseball players when they get them on? I mean, what is going to be the scale of pay that you're going to give your various athletes? I think this is a very slippery slope here.
The market will determine, like it does everything in a free market operation. The market will determine how much each person is worth. I mean, you're going to pay your quarterback is naturally going to attract more interest and probably attract more dollars than your left tackle would,
Absolutely.
And I think that's understood in the locker room. And, the thing is, I haven't heard nationally or locally, for that matter, a whole lot of disruption caused by this NIL stuff and by some athletes having advertisements and others don't. I got to be honest with you. I haven't seen one single ad by a college athlete, or for that matter, a high school athlete too, that would motivate me to go buy their product. Seeing
you don't want a Dr. Pepper after DJ's Dr. Pepper
I'm
spot?
not a Dr. Pepper fan before. I'm not one now. And the thought is, I guess every Clemson fan is just going to rush and go buy Well, that was before the season. After watching him play, I got a feeling Dr. Pepper in Clemson country is taking a hit. It's like, can I get me some Dr. Pibb over here? Not Dr. Pibb, Mr. Pibb.
Mr. Pibb.
Get me some Mr. Pibb over here very quickly. So that's just, again, I bring that up because it's happening. It's now here in South Carolina. I give them credit. They're the first ones to do it here in our own backyard. I remember we talked about it out in the summer when it happened at Texas A&M. We were critical of, I think it was Aggie Yell. Is that the one that did it out at Texas A&M, Aggie Yell?
They've got a couple out there. I'm not sure which one it is, but yeah.
And they talked about how, they had reached exclusive agreements with a couple of 3 players for the rights to talk to them at SEC Media Days. The same players talk to everybody else. So I don't really know what they gained from it outside of spending that money. And you got to remember, too, these aren't rocket scientists we're talking to. We're talking to college football players, and most of them are not wise beyond their years. They're not NFL level thinkers even, and they're not interesting along those lines. What they are, of course, they are the property of your favorite school, and people want to hear from them because they represent your favorite school, and so they'll pay or they'll tune in, whatever the case may be, to be able to listen to them. But you're not going to get a whole lot of great insight out of them by and large. And I'm even sure, I got to believe in today's environment that head coaches have told them, hey, if you reach NIL agreements with media type people, you better not tell them anything good.
Exactly.
Yeah, you better not share any inside information, And that's where a rub could come. A player could say, hey, man, this is my time. This is my free time. This is my money. I'll talk about what I want to talk about, Not that they would. I can't imagine any of them doing that to get in the face of a coach and do that. But I bet you might find 1 or 2. All right, we'll come back with the recruiting report. It's free. here on Sports Talk, coming up in a moment.
COVID-19 booster shots are now available for those 65 and older, long-term care residents, and those 18 and older with underlying medical conditions or at high risk. See if you're eligible at scdhec.gov/COVID-19 booster. Keep fighting the spread. Wear your face mask. Stay 6 feet apart. And get vaccinated. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdhec.gov/vaxfax.
Hey, folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history. And with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Parents ask, what's the best way to save for college? I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus, and my answer is always open a Future Scholar 529 college savings account. It's easy. You can get started online with any amount. It's flexible to adapt to your child's college dreams. And you can deduct 100% of your contributions from the South Carolina state tax return. So what are you waiting for? Go to futurescholar.com and see why it's the smart, easy way to save for college. futurescholar.com.
Time for the recruiting report here on Sports Talk. It is brought to you by Seawells. We have an NIL arrangement with Seawells, which is never interfere with lettuce. I don't know where I was going with that. I was just trying to make it up. I was hoping there was something, a meat in there somewhere, but I couldn't find it. Anyway, Seawells, their daily luncheon buffet up and running again this week. And great place to go to get a great lunch. I may hit that up tomorrow. What's on the menu for tomorrow after the Gamecock media session? I might head over there. What you got?
Tomorrow will be carved rosemary pork loin.
Oh, I thought you were going to say roast beef.
Tricked you there. Southern fried chicken and beef franks with sauerkraut, along with all the veggies you can think of and banana pudding.
I am not a sauerkraut. You ever had sauerkraut?
I have not.
Yeah. You ever had it?
Yeah, not a fan.
Yeah. Just the name sauerkraut. Sauerkraut, I can't eat. There's 3 things I can't eat now that I'm thinking about it because of the name. Sauerkraut, eggplant, and beets. Those 3 names just give me the willies.
I'm with you on beets.
Yeah.
I've never had eggplant, but I'm with you on beets.
See, and I always thought eggplant actually had egg in it, but it doesn't.
No.
It's just called an egg. It's called an eggplant. And I don't know why they call it an eggplant, but there's no egg involved in it, right? It's a vegetable, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay. So anyway, 11 till 2 tomorrow through Friday, the daily luncheon buffet over at Seawells, right across from the State Fairground. You can see the rocket from Seawells in case you need some kind of way to, if your GPS isn't working, just go to the fairgrounds, look for the rocket, walk across Rosewood, and you're right there. And, of course, the best in the catering business, that is Seawells. Their phone number is 803-771-7385. Their website, SeawellsCateringSC.com. Well, be on the lookout for the Gamecocks possibly getting a flip of a commitment to Virginia Tech. Defensive tackle DeAndre Martin, who is 6'4", 293, South Chesterfield, Virginia, is a guy South Carolina recruited heavily in the summer. Came down to the Gamecocks and Virginia Tech, and on August 1st, he committed to Virginia Tech, and that was a day after visiting USC. However, USC has stayed in touch, and likewise he with them, and he's going to take an official visit to USC this weekend for the Auburn game. He told us last night, and from there, he'll go with his final decision. He still considers himself committed to Virginia Tech at the moment. He said a couple of weeks ago, I just kind of sat down and called Shane Beamer and said, like, hey, I'd like to get down there for an official and see what it's like. And he said that his goal is not yet met until he commits to the Gamecocks. So he says he's going to do his best to enjoy himself and go from there. He's going to explore options and make the best decision. He has visited USC twice. That was back in the summer. He's a native of Durham who attends Life Christian Academy in Virginia. Now, over the weekend, Clemson had several recruits on campus, many of whom were commitments who were taking their official visits. But the headliner of the non-committed, was wide receiver Andre Green Jr., 6'3", 180 of Richmond. Clemson's been battling with North Carolina and Georgia for Green. He made officials to Georgia and North Carolina in June. Camped at Clemson the same month, returned to Clemson and North Carolina for unofficials in July, was back in Chapel Hill for a game October 2nd, and he's going to make his decision Wednesday, he announces. So Clemson getting the last opportunity here, at least in person, see if that makes a big difference or not. 2023 quarterback Dylan Lonergan of Snellville, Georgia, was also at Clemson Saturday. He's not been offered. He has camped at Clemson. He's been offered by USC. He was there for a game in September. He's got the Gamecocks as one of the teams on his short list with Georgia, Ole Miss, Oregon, Georgia Tech, Alabama, Penn State, Ohio State, Auburn, LSU, and Mississippi State. Quarterback Jaden Bradford of Chapin in the 2024 class was another of the prospects at Clemson on Saturday. Excuse me. Got a little dry throat going there. Clemson offered linebacker Wade Wooders, 6'3", 205 of Tampa. He was in for a visit on Saturday. Dutch Fork wide receiver Antonio Williams made his second official visit of the season over the weekend to Ole Miss. Williams took an official visit to USC in September. He is scheduled to visit Auburn November 27th for the Alabama game. And Georgia's been working him for an official visit. Notre Dame and Florida State are the other two schools on his short list. And his mother and his stepfather, of course, his stepfather's Murphy Holloway, both attended Ole Miss. And he has not indicated, Williams, if he'll go back to USC for the Auburn game or maybe go to Clemson for the Wake Forest game. Clemson continues to show interest but has not offered. Also over the weekend, related to visits, USC target wide receiver Camden Brown of Fort Lauderdale to Florida State. Clemson target 2023 offensive lineman Josh Miller of Colonial Heights, Virginia to Penn State. 2023 corner Trayvon West of Wren to Penn State. 2023 Dutch Fork running back Jarvis Green to Wake Forest. 2023 defensive tackle Xavier McLeod of Camden to Tennessee. USC target 2023 tight end Ethan Davis of Sewanee, Georgia to Florida State. And 2024 receiver Mazio Bennett of Greenville to Florida State. And 2024 quarterback Jaden Davis of Catawba Ridge to Penn State. Clemson, one of the 5 finalists for defensive end Curtis Perry of Montgomery, Alabama. He announces December 15th, the first day of the early signing period. Others are Auburn, Alabama, UCF, and Texas. 2023 defensive tackle Keith Sampson of New Bern, North Carolina. He plans to be at USC Saturday. USC and Clemson made the top 12 with 2023 offensive defensive lineman Luke Montgomery of Findlay, Ohio. The others are Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Stanford, Oklahoma, Michigan State, and Michigan. 2023 tight end Ethan Davis of Sewanee, Georgia, named a top 7. USC, Georgia, Florida State, Penn State, Cincinnati, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. 2023 safety Sonny Styles of Pickerington, Ohio, who had a Clemson offer and visited in September, committed to Ohio State. 2023 defensive end Montague Rames of Sumter was offered by UCF. Basketball 2023 6'4" Braylon Blue, Madison, Wisconsin, was at Clemson over the weekend. Baseball 2025 third baseman middle infielder Kelvin Paulino, Thomasville, North Carolina, committed to South Carolina. That is our recruiting report for this Monday after big weekend for visits. Sure, South Carolina and Clemson will have more visits coming in this weekend, as we talked about, with keeping an eye on DeAndre Martin to see if that falls for the Gamecocks. That would be good. 6'4", about 300 pounds. Those are the kind you like to grab, Chris.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And Carolina needs as many of those big-time guys as you can possibly get at this point in time.
Well, if they get him, that would give them go back and look. That would be, I think, 3 or 4 defensive linemen for them in their class, I think, which is a pretty good number to bring in. After the break, we'll break it down even more on the Gamecocks and the Tigers. It's 1st and 10 with Coach Zach Willis coming up next.
You don't know what to get your special someone for Christmas. Well, you can get them a gift card or a vacuum cleaner or maybe some clothes. Yeah, that's creative. How about something beautiful, actually? Something nice for the house, something you've always wanted. That incredible new fire pit, some outdoor lighting, the beautiful pavers like we got at our home. This is the time to call Mint Landscapes. Don't wait until spring when everyone else decides to get the work done. Get it done now so you can actually enjoy it in 2022 and beyond. Online, it's mintlandscapes.com or call them 629-2924.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
With SRN News, I'm Jason Walker. President Biden signing that $1.2 trillion infrastructure measure into law. He says it's designed to rebuild America's roads, bridges, and more. Well, it appears further delays may be in store for the president's ambitious so-called human infrastructure bill. It awaits further review from the Congressional Budget Office before it can get a vote in the House, and officials say it's unlikely to see the light of day in the Senate until after the Thanksgiving recess. The trial of 18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse has now gone to the jury. Deliberations among the panel begin Tuesday morning. A judge is denying requests to declare a mistrial in the case of 3 white men who are charged with killing a black jogger in Georgia. This is SRN News.
Do you know? I'm Tamika Isaac Devine, and I'm running to be your next mayor of the City of Columbia. During my 19 years on City Council, I've always shown up for you, and now I'm asking you to show up for our city. As your next mayor, I will continue to lead on building safer communities, leading us out of the pandemic, and growing our businesses. I am always with you, working for you. We can't afford to sit out this election. The future of Columbia depends on it. This is Tamika Isaac Devine, asking for your vote for mayor on November 16th.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on, you need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by Tree Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Devine Street downtown.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. Is it me, or does life speed by so much faster this time of year? Your calendar fills up so quickly. Then before you know it, you're scratching your head when you see Christmas decorations for sale at Lowe's. How do you stay connected? Well, thanks for asking. We have the answer. It's fondue. Come in for reconnecting time. Have 4 courses, or just chocolate, or just cheese. We are here for you. 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard. The Melting Pot.
Back we are on Sports Talk. Zach Willis in just a moment. Let's update basketball. Boy, Clemson involved another tight one, 36-35. Tigers leading Bryant. Both teams shooting well. Clemson 59%, Bryant 58%. Bryant 6 of 10 from 3. It's keeping them in the ball game. They've only shot 1 free throw. Clemson winning the boards 14-9. And P.J. Hall off to another good start for Clemson. He's got 10. Only Tiger in double figures. And for Bryant, they've got the Sports Talk Kiss.
Peter Kiss. Yep. That kid's good.
He's got 17. Really good. What a name. What a great name to have. Kiss. I beg your pardon? Kiss me. Peter Kiss.
When Coastal played them during the CBI this past year down at Daytona, I had to watch myself when I was broadcasting his name, because the drummer for the band Kiss is named Peter Chris. So you had to be awfully careful not to make that mistake. But that is a good basketball team, and Clemson's going to be in a dogfight moving forward.
The game that Smitty is calling, it's a dogfight, 89-40. Upstate is leading St. Andrews. You know all about calling blowouts.
Yeah, they're not fun for either team. No. Trust me. They're just not fun
to listen to either. Quick tune out, I would say. Let's see if anything else here. Liberty is leading LSU 24-23. It's in the first half. Virginia Tech over Radford 20-10. These are all first half scores. Presbyterian is leading the Citadel 26-18. That's a first half score. And let's see. Marquette in Illinois. Illinois is up 19-15. Wofford up on Erskine. Wofford up on Erskine 40-17. Belmont scores the first bucket against Furman's 2-0 early there. Georgia Tech and Lamar 2-2. And you're up to date on what we know in basketball. Let's find out what Zach Willis knows in football. 1st and 10 with the coach, Zach Willis, who I know has been breaking down USC and Clemson tape over the weekend. Good to have you with us. Let's get right to it. So I'm just puzzled. Just tell me why, from a coaching standpoint, when you line up to play a defense that's giving up 270 rushing yards per game, why you can't run it successfully against them? Was it something that they were doing that you could not adjust to?
I don't think so, Phil. I think it comes back to the fact that they just were not mentally prepared for that football game. They're not ready to handle success. I think we saw that Florida's not nearly as good as people thought they were. But at the same time, you wanted to ride what success you had, and you were good enough to beat Missouri. But mentally, they had a chance early in that game to go up 14-0. Offensive guard, I think, blew an assignment. Guy penetrates into the backfield, hits the mesh point. You pointed that out to me. And from there, it was downhill for them. They never were consistent, and I began to go back again to fundamentals. Offensive line's footwork and in the run game and pass game was absolutely horrible. And it's been that way most of the year, but it was probably at its worst. And people say, you got injuries. Look, these guys are SEC football players. They're supposed to be some of the best in the country. Just not an impressive performance overall. I felt like Missouri completely out-coached them on both sides of the ball. we can get into that. I've got facts to back the statement up. I don't make those lightly, but they took South Carolina to school as far as X's and O's go.
So, as a coach, should they have run the ball? Should they have attempted to run the ball more, or do you see that Missouri is playing to stop your run, and thus you adjust and do something else? In other words, there comes that point where you don't want to be stubborn and try and run against a 6 or 7 man front, right? You have to go do something else.
Well, 6 man in the box, when people talk about counting the box, that's usually from tackle to tackle. And technically, honestly, it probably should be from tight end to tight end if you have 2 tight ends, because they count in the equation if you're running the football. And you always want to have an even number. So if you've got 6 blockers, you want to have a 6 man box. So you've got the running backs 1 extra. You've accounted for every potential run defender, at least for the first 4 or 5 yards, which is always a good gain on a running play, especially in a normal down situation. They ignored that. They didn't try to enforce their will or formation themselves into advantageous positions. I don't feel like they run Harris enough. If he's healthy, you're talking about the returning leading rusher in the SEC, and we know he's got the talent, Phil. We scored, 5 touchdowns on Auburn last year. This guy's a great, great talent. He's an NFL back. The other guys are really good backs, but he's a proven commodity, and you need to feed him the football. Sometimes the benefits aren't seen until the second half, but this was a team, even with an extra man, let Harris take that guy. He's a good enough back to make a guy miss. When I worked with Chuck Reedy, Danny Ford's philosophy and Chuck Reedy's philosophy at Clemson, when they had those great backs, Jim Carlin's philosophy with George Rogers was, I don't care if there's an extra man out there. Terrence Flagler, Terry Allen, George Rogers, you name a bunch of them that they had over the years at both schools, they made that one man miss or ran his butt over. And there's no excuse. This is big boy football here, and you got great backs. I mean, those other 2 backs are good football players. You could put South Carolina's running backs up against most units in the country, and they'd stack up just fine.
What did you think of the play of Jason Brown? He himself admitted after the ball game he was cutting and running too soon. He was rolling out too much, not staying in the pocket long enough, and drifting. I think maybe you pointed this out to me. He was drifting way back too deep in the pocket, costing them a lot of yardage. What did you see going on with him?
Well, it's offensive coordination overall. When he got in the gun, he was taking another 7 step or so drop back. And what it does, it gives the defensive ends a straight line to you. Your offensive tackles, they don't have eyes in the back of their head. They kind of have a feel for where you're going to be, where their coach tells them the pocket is supposed to be, and they don't know to extend the pocket. Jason's got to learn to step up in the pocket and, take the hits when they come. If he already knows what he did wrong. Rolling out like that, he's rolling right into the rush, and he's cutting the field in half. So the defense has half a field to defend now. And he did that way too much. He said that. I think the kid's got a ton of talent, but he was very fundamentally flawed in what he did, but not to a point where they still could have won the game.
Mm-hmm. First and 10 tonight here on Sports Talk with Zach Willis. And, Coach, from a bigger picture perspective, as you're trying to build a program, is it now incumbent on Shane Beamer to go back and say, see, guys, I told you so. This is what I was trying to preach to you last week about handling success in a sort of looking at the glass half full. Are there some positives that you can take out of that loss to apply to your team moving forward?
Well, yeah, I think they fought back. The sky shouldn't be falling. They hired a rookie coach who's never even been a coordinator. You got to let him grow. You got to give him a chance if you're going to stick with him and do your job the right way. It took his daddy 6 years to win at Virginia Tech, so winning quick ain't in the bloodlines if that's what they're counting on. But he built a national powerhouse. So you got to look at that was a different era, that was a different time maybe, but it's still my practice to say, okay, this guy's learning as he goes. And it's absolutely you go back and say, look, there's no reason we can't beat Auburn. We're competitive with people. We've been competitive with most teams all year unless we just laid a goose egg. Now, Georgia is a different animal, and they don't play Alabama. But, they didn't get blown out of the thing. It was just They've got to adjust. Defensively concerned me, and the offensive line. Quarterback, I wasn't so concerned about that. That's an easy fix, especially when the kids admitting it in the locker room. I really like what I see out of him. They got some serious issues with their 2-minute defense.
Now, my guess is you have no concerns about Clemson's defense, but as you watch their game with UConn on Saturday, what was your takeaway from their offense? Have they made progress coming off the past couple of ball games and getting ready for a game? I think they're going to have to be able to score against a team like Wake Forest.
I don't think so. I do want to say this, and I don't think Clemson's made a lot of progress, and it's concerned me that they have not gotten any better, but especially at the quarterback position. In fact, I think the receivers have gone backwards. Offensive line has maintained with a lot of injuries. Their defense continues to be outstanding. They're beat up. They're not the same unit they were because they've taken so many snaps and got hit in the mouth so much because they're playing from behind and teams can run the ball on them. But I think Clemson's going to be okay on defense. Clemson plays situational defense pretty well. But I want to make one point about South Carolina's defense, and this was actually by request from Phil this weekend. South Carolina, in the last 2 minutes of that football game, played with 2 down linemen as far as 2 3-point stances go, 2 more standing up in a 2-point stance against 2 tight end formations, tight end fullback formations, and at no point did Missouri ever even think about throwing that football. They should have had 5 down linemen in that game, 2 run-stopping linebackers in normal downs, and when they brought in extra personnel or it got close as far as within 7 yards of the line of the first down, as far as like a second or third and 7, they should have had 3 in the game. 2 tight end situation. You should run a 5-3 defense and blitz the heck out of Missouri. They never did it in the 2 minutes. They were blitzing them early and killing them. So I want to throw that in there for the fans so they understand why they could not stop the run. They got out personnel and out coached in that. They're running 2 and 3 tight ends in the game, fullbacks in the game. South Carolina makes no adjustment. At one point, they had a nickel package in the game with kids at the transfer from Gardner-Webb that's such a good player, number 12, but they had him in the box at 190 pounds, trying to hang on to a 6'5", 270 tight end. Getting back to Clemson, I think the problem they have is their quarterback. It goes right to him, stays with him, and until he gets better, they're going to struggle to score.
Is he going to get better before the season's over?
I doubt it. I just don't see it, and I hate to be that way. But, man, how many chances can you give somebody? And they don't have anybody behind him, which really disturbs me. They can throw the ball effectively that I see. I don't know what the Helms kid will become, but, Farmachon, however you say his name, I mean, he can't throw it in the ocean. And then he gets injured. He's a really good runner. But I'm like, okay, we're not seeing the kind of throws. And I understand now, look, this kid looked great against Notre Dame last year. Looked phenomenal. I don't know what happened to him, but the receivers are losing confidence. They're dropping the ball now. Running backs, they're running hard. I think they've got great running backs. They're a lot like South Carolina. But their best bet is to run the football and hope that their defense can slow Wake Forest down. But I never thought I'd say this. It's not going to be easy. I mean, who would have thought last year we'd be talking about Clemson struggling to beat Wake Forest?
Yeah.
But here we are, and it is what it is. I mean, nothing is easy for them right now until that quarterback, until DJ can get the game going. I don't think this is just so people understand. This is a coaching deal. This is not a character issue. This is not a bad kid. He seems like a really pretty good boy. From what I can tell, young man, but the bottom line is he's not improving, and they're not getting better. Dabo said as much. Everything's hard for them right now, but the one thing they do have is character, and I think South Carolina has it too. And I think they can give Auburn all they want, especially at home. If the fans show up and get behind them, these kids are emotional. Clemson, same thing. The fans have to show up. It'll make a difference, especially the North down in Death Valley. Wake Forest hadn't faced anything like that, I don't believe.
Yeah. Last thing, we'll let you go about that game. I mean, Clemson's defense is still rock solid, despite not having Bresci, despite Trey Williams playing hurt and missing some other people. they still have a pretty, well, number 11 in the country. I mean, they can count on their defense to keep them there. And I'm thinking, if they can score 24 on Wake Forest, I think the defense can hold Wake Forest down to 17 or 20. That's what I'm thinking.
I think so. I mean, they held Georgia to 3. Let's be realistic. It was a pick 6 that Georgia got. And Georgia was playing with everything they had. Now, Clemson had Brazee there, who is a phenomenal player. But Clemson's going to be as healthy as they've been in a long time. They got to rest some people against UConn. And honestly, I think it'll be a struggle. It'll be hard. But I look for them to win the game. I know Dabo. He's not going to be emotional every week, but he'll be emotional this week, and he'll be emotional when they go down to Williams-Brice. But he knows when and where and how. He's proven that. Nobody can question that. It's got any sense that they can't coach. They'll have them ready. Venables will have them ready. It'll be a question of if the quarterback can make the plays when they need him to, and if they can establish the run, they may not even need that. Florida State game, they just ran the ball and beat Florida State silly, but Florida State is not Wake Forest again. Who would have ever thought you'd say that?
Not in this lifetime, but we're saying it, bro. No, we're saying it.
Well, I want to say, we are in Florida State and Miami. What in the world has happened to those two programs? There's some heads need to roll when you're in that kind of talent in Florida too, and you can't win. It shows you the state of coaching. I heard you guys talking earlier about paying these kids. I want to say one thing about all that. Pat Summitt made less money than Lane Kiffin and Eric Dooley. And Don Staley still makes less than Shane Beamer, and they're paying Will Muschamp, I think, less per year to fire him than they do her. And she's well paid for a ladies coach. That's an injustice, in my opinion, right along with what you guys said.
We got to run, sir. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you next week. Zach Willis, 1st and 10. Back in a moment.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, covering Lawrence, Clinton, Joanna, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Save like a pro with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders Loyalty Select account gives you the opportunity to grow your savings at our best rate yet. Fund your account through your favorite Loyalty Select product to get savings today. Not a member yet? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Here we go. He's in the shotgun. The two-back pistol. 6'5", 245 pounds, three-time Pro Bowler Cam Newton. McCaffrey swings out of the backfield wide to the right. Newton's going to run right. In the grass, breaks a tackle. McCaffrey, Newton, everybody celebrating touchdown right side.
You found your mojo out in the desert, huh? Cam Newton comes back and the world is back on its proper axis and everything is good in Panther land. Mick, congratulations. Great call. Wish your people would let you complete a call, but I guess you probably like it that way. That's just me. But tremendous performance out there against Arizona. No, Arizona was playing without their quarterback, but still, that's a great win out there.
Thanks, Corn. Yeah, Arizona had been without their quarterback
the prior game against San Fran, and they just took it right to the Niners. Colt McCoy was amazing. James Conner just trampled San Fran. So it was just an incredible day. The Panthers jumped on them early. It wasn't even really close. The triumphant return of Cam Newton. So what do you think? How do you think it's going to play out? This has a chance to be one of the great comeback stories in the modern era of sports.
Well, I mean, here's my question to you. Okay, you're asking me a question. I got a question for you. What the hell were they thinking cutting him 2 years ago?
He couldn't stay healthy, had shoulder problems, had some foot problems. And, Corn, it's been a long time since you were single, but it's like dating. You break up with one because you feel like you're not well paired or maybe you can do better. And then a couple of years later, there you are at some restaurant, a steak and ale out on St. Andrews Road or whatever, wondering, now why again? Tell me again why we broke up.
That's right. And, it just makes the reconciliation that much better. But did you expect – you couldn't have expected Newton to have the impact on the game first time. He only started practicing, I think, on Friday. You couldn't have expected him to have the impact on the game that he eventually did, could you?
Well, you could have expected him to have the impact on the team because of his outsized personality, megawatt smile, the aura, the whole thing. But no, to your question, I think it's a credit to Cam to want to come in and hit the books, to Joe Brady to design some stuff up for him that he felt comfortable with, and then to have the temerity to call that during a game. I mean, it was just fantastic.
Where do they go from here this week with that quarterback situation?
Well, we're going to sign Phillip Rivers and Vinny Testaverde, and let's just get them all in here. No, I'm just kidding. I think that it'll be Cam Newton to start. I think this was the plan all along since middle of last week when they signed Newton, was to let it get oiled up with a small package against the Cardinals and then give him more of the reins. But I don't think P.J. Walker's getting fired. I think it'll be Cam Newton to start, but I wouldn't be surprised to see P.J. Walker come in and try to do some things as well.
What did you think of Walker yesterday?
Oh, gosh, he throws a heavy ball, Corn. He's got a monster arm. I mean, he's a 5'10", 5'11" guy. If you see him out of uniform, you might think, yeah, that's a good athlete, but you'd have no idea he's capable of what he can do. He threw on rhythm. He wasn't scared, and I think he definitely complicated the mix a little bit, don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was, they handled it extremely well. I mean, they put Newton in there in situations where he could succeed, and, of course, that helps the team. But, of course, you can't overlook the fact that McCaffrey played healthy and did McCaffrey things for you. And basically, we all know he makes all the difference in the world to that offense.
100%. Good call. And this defense is salty and twitchy and mad at it and has the closing speed. This is a track team on defense. NFL second-ranked defense going into yesterday, played extremely well yesterday. Weapons at receiver. You mentioned McCaffrey. The kicking game's been better. So Newton doesn't have to be Superman. If the Panthers can just get a little better play at quarterback, then we could go places if it's not too late.
Mick, I have to admit I was disappointed that Phil didn't have your poetry on the fumble recovery. It was one of the great calls of all time out of your mouth with the eloquence that you did it. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But you talked about the defense and especially the ability that they have in terms of total defense to hold a team like Arizona under 200 yards of offense. I don't care if Colt McCoy is in there or Kyler Murray is in there. What makes that defense, as you pointed out, so twitchy and so good? Is it just flat out speed?
I'd like to know what I did that was poetry so I could maybe do it again. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm sorry, what was your question again? I'm distracted by this bit of praise, man. I've got the vapor here.
Basically what he's saying is you used a lot of big words that most of your audience didn't
none
understand.
of us can understand.
No, it's the defense is Dante Jackson's playing well. He's making tackles. He's become a physical corner, not just a finesse corner. Shaq Thompson, like he shot out of some kind of a cannon. I mean, the time to tackle these next-gen stats, Shaq Thompson's better than a half a second quicker to the ball than he was previously. I mean, this defense is just so much fun to watch him work.
What you got coming up on the show?
Good show tonight. We'll have Pat Elfline, offensive lineman, played center, did well. We'll have Scott Fitter, and then off the top, Matt Rule live.
I'm sure he'll be happy. We thank you, sir. Have yourself a great week. Redskins coming to town. That should be fun, and we'll talk to you next week.
The Washington football team. Looking forward to it.
Oh, shoot. I called them the Redskins, didn't I?
There you go, Phil.
Yes, you did.
Don't slip up. Don't slip up. Old habits are hard to break. Wow. Can't believe I said that. Thank you, Mick.
See you guys.
You know, you really have to focus, too. You know, you really have to focus when it comes to
No
Washington,
doubt.
not to slip
Speaking of
up.
that, we'd be remiss. Sam Huff, one of the great Washington football players of all time, passed away over the weekend.
Absolutely.
Shame.
Loved him on the radio, too.
Yeah.
With Sonny
Oh, he was
Ferguson.
great. Yeah, he really was great.
Thank you, everybody. Talking Tuesday tomorrow. See you then.